Chuck, Steven, MCon, Kelvin, Devin. What's up, guys? All right. I did some analysis, man. I did some analysis yesterday. I've got some things to go over and talk about. A lot of what is happening right now, guys, is basically, to an extent, 2021, early 2021. So we're going to be taking a look at that in the cycle because I do think that establishing a volatility zone in the cycle, first of all, is key to then being able to narrow down the upcoming POIs, the next POIs in the sequence. So this is going to be fun. It's going to be real fun. Okay, so look at this. We got AMC in January, okay, with AMC now. And it took 120 days. So we used this cycle for March and August 2022 to predict the run-ups we had, right? That was a good POI tracking. This is why I think this is very important. Now that the trajectory has changed, here's the trajectory. I posted this yesterday on X, on Twitter. I talked about the correlation with Carvana, which had something very similar. Actually, I will pull that up because I didn't get to cover that here on after the live ended. I didn't really cover this. But here's the trajectory on Carvana when it exited distribution, right? It accumulated for a little bit. It was a very short period of accumulation. With AMC, it's a lot bigger. Here's the low. We got the percentage levels that are pretty much the same, right? This goes from about 250 to 13, and this one goes from 350 to about 20. So ratio-wise, pretty much the same. You can see Carvana also dumps, and I know there's gonna be those that say like, oh well, Carvana, it's its own stock, this and that. But guys, I mean, in the market, you can use patterns like reference patterns, pretty much any stock, any cryptocurrency in the market. The algorithms are gonna do things very similarly on the macro and the micro scale. It doesn't matter what stock you're really tracking. There will be higher correlations with stocks that have, in my opinion, an option chain or some kind of a leverage tool that is being used, so like cryptocurrencies. And a lot of the times these algorithms do work a little bit better if the market caps line up, in some form of way. So the market cap for right now, at least, the market cap for Carvana is $24 billion. But at the time when it was trading down here at $4, it was similar to AMC's. So I mean, dude, I'm tracking the same thing, man. If this goes back up to 100, right, or in that range, it's going to be a very similar market cap to what Carvana is right now as well. It's $24 billion. So right now we're sitting at 1.59. Right, 545. And here's the trajectory. If AMC is going to bounce back and forth, look at this. Let's say that we're repeating this sequence. And again, guys, I'm not saying that it's going to play out this way. I do think that it's going to take a little bit longer to play out. But if we were tracking a similar trajectory to this one, I think what AMC would do is it will likely, probably reach the $4 range at some point. I'm not saying it's going to do that this week or anything, but I think at some point we would probably expect it to hit that and then probably go back to 14 and do something like this, where it just kind of trades in this zone, maybe comes back up, goes to 16. Remember, with Carvana, it went from $6 to 60. So if we did something similar here, it would be $4 to maybe to 40 or something, right? And if it goes to 40 first, here's that's what I'm saying. You use these fractals, and you kind of get a similar range, $40. Comes back down, and then it just kind of continues on its way up. It's slow, but at least it's making progress, right? That's the most important part. Eventually, it does hit the $100 range. In this case, we have macro resistance here at 80. That would be like crossing macro resistance first. There's a lot of liquidity in this range. So if it did do that, I think it would hit that first next year. And then kind of start, from there. I am tracking Carvana to start coming down. I don't think Carvana is going to go any higher. I think this is the peak for Carvana for some time. Who knows what's going to happen after this range if it does come down. But I think for AMC, it's the same thing, guys. It's just in a different phase in the cycle. It's late. And yeah, I mean, we're getting a taste of that right now. This was pretty much expected, right? We expected that AMC was going to come down for a little bit before consolidating for some time. So this is my projection, man. It's something like this for the coming months, years. I think we're on the right track. I don't think we're going to hit a new low, guys. I think the low is in as well. Ruby Doobie, appreciate that. I can't control that either, right? If Adam decides to dilute, that would not be good. Just in general, if we start diluting when we cross below this range, I think at that point we're starting to kind of go back to Bed Bath and Beyond and some of the other stocks like Mullen. They just keep diluting. At that point, there's no saving the stock because clearly they're trying to bankrupt the movie industry if that's the case. And then you do go into the whole like conspiracies that are kind of rolling around. But right now, I mean, that's just not the case. So it really is. It sustains itself now, which it has been very bumpy road on the way down. But having this pretty amazing pump we did here in the last 2 days, which has, by the way, been one of the craziest pumps we have seen on the entire chart. We have not experienced a bigger pump here on a 2-day, I believe. Let me see, 2. This right here, not counting what happened in January, has been the biggest. Actually, it was a larger pump. No, it wasn't a larger pump than June. Got very close, but you can kind of see the similarities, guys. Like this right here that happened in 2 days, right? It was the same size pretty much with what happened in June. And then what happened in June after that, you did see a very large consolidation period. But this is what I'm trying to say, and this is why it's important that we track the cycle. Because once these volatility zones happen and you kind of, you start shifting directions, we didn't have a volatility zone this big since June 2021. And before that, what were we doing? The markets were going up. They were ascending. This is the trajectory I'm talking about. So, say we are in a larger version of this sequence, right? We go back to 2020 in November, where it really started off. That was like the first initial pump here after COVID. The catalyst was like, oh, they're opening up the movie theaters now. And there was a lot going on here, just back and forth, very choppy. There was dilution. and then everything started to pump, right? So right now we don't really have a catalyst. I mean, the catalyst was Roaring Kitty, right, on X, tweeting that whole thing, and that was the catalyst, right? So I think part of this dump that we're experiencing now probably has to do with that. This has nothing to really do with financials, so it's just kind of like the meme catalysts typically are going to involve some kind of pump and dump scheme, right? And that's kind of what's happening now. But the algorithm's going to do the algorithm, man. And I think from here on, we should be trading in that bullish trajectory that I've been saying. So yeah, even if we were in the November cycle, it's something similar here, which this cycle is split up in, so there's one cycle and then two cycles in between. So what happens here is basically 60 days after that initial volatility event in November, we experience another squeeze, right? So in this case, it would be the next cycle. Say this thing does start climbing back up. It goes up to 20 or something, trades sideways, comes back down. It's going to do it in its own way. But if it does this, then for the rest of the year, we should experience another 2 run-ups. Guys, this is pretty much the way most of these stocks function. Okay, I'll show you an example. We go back to Carvana. Again, this is just taking any other stock in the market. Here's the macro pattern we're tracking for Carvana, just playing out. Okay. So this is what we do. We start off the year here in January. Dude, like, this thing had no breaks. Okay, so that right here is pretty much the green candle. Right, followed by a nasty red candle. We have another yearly candle here. And so far, this is what it looks like on, if you go on the yearly chart for Carvana, this is what it looks like, right? So what can happen inside each year? Typically with a stock that is ascending, or it's in a advancing stage, this is the trajectory again, we experience about 3 volatility events, and you can clearly see them here, right? If I pull up the changes indicator, go on that 13-day window, there's, they split up pretty nicely here for us. So we have, we have one here, the beginning of the year, and then we have one in the middle of the year, July, and then we have one towards the end, right? So they're all split up. And it, depends on the phase that you're in, but typically the one that's going to be the one with the most opportunity is exiting the accumulation period, because it all happens very quickly. So with this information here, right, and there's other stocks in the market that do the same thing, right? We have CGC is another one. It's kind of doing it now, right? We start off the year again. January here, and we are like, this is the candle so far. What it looks like so far, and we've already experienced 1 volatility event this year. Last year, it was choppy. Didn't even correct itself. It's a red candle. It's kind of crazy that it looks something like this, but I mean, the opportunities, guys, with these candles, there's the largest period is always going to be And this is with the stock market, right? I think things are slightly different when you look at the crypto markets because a lot of it has to do with leverage trading, and there's not that much derivatives or as many derivatives compared to the stock market. The stock market functions mostly with derivatives and margin expiration dates, and crypto's not regulated the same way, so we don't really see that, and that's why there's so much more volatility in the crypto markets. We see people constantly and retail traders constantly being liquidated. So that's the difference here is like with crypto, this wouldn't happen. It's not just straight downfall. This is a combination of Ivy Crush and Theta Crush, right? Time and very slow bleed. Crypto would look something like this on the way down because it's just liquidating, right? That's the difference. So this is why I see that as an opportunity, guys. With this, it's the waiting game is the most important part. Is being patient, and it's constantly happens every volatility zone that we run into. And for AMC, kind of going back with this whole yearly cycle thing, this is what I see happening, right? Because this is our first volatility event of the year. This is the first one. I will post a projection on this on TradingView if you guys want to follow me using the link below. And I think this is going to be a green candle. So where is it? We start off the year right there. We have a massive wick. It goes up green, and then now we're kind of red on the year again, right? So kind of so far we are, because the year's, yep, we are red on the year. But going back to it, right? Let's draw this other candle. Actually, what am I doing? I have the indicator here. There we go. Okay, so this is AMC on the yearly. On the macro chart, I love using this indicator because, yeah, we can really see what's going on inside these cycles. So you kind of go back to it, right? You go back to the first cycle in January, right? We have a red candle followed by a massive green one. This is a red candle, and I think this is going to be a pretty green candle. And this is our first volatility zone, right? Here's the changes indicator again. Our first one, you go back to the first year, we have 1, 2, and then prior to it, right, what happened in November, that wasn't part of the same year. It did happen in November, but because there's a shift here in the cycle, right, that is going to matter going into the next candle at least. If this is going to be a macro change in direction, there might be 2 green candles going into next year. So there might be 2 volatility events instead of 3, and then maybe 1 early in 2025. Because with Carvana, the first volatility event, why it had 3 in 1 year, was because it just started going up in January, like right away. So they were able to kind of squeeze those in together. But yeah, guys, this is what I'm saying. It's probably going to trade sideways for quite some time. I mean, with the cycle, what we're used to is about 62 days. It can also take 120, right? 120 is normally what we're used to in terms of like how high the volatility event, how high it goes, how high the price goes is what I'm trying to say. So Yeah, I mean, I think for this one at least, and why I think the $40 range is likely to happen this year. I mean, we already hit $14. If you think about it, or we got close to it. From $14, if we come back and we reach resistance again, all that needs to happen is the price just went up 300 and what? 350%, almost 400, right? So from 14 to 40 is only 200%. You got to think about these numbers, guys. Like that is that this 350% move happened in 2 days. So they're definitely gonna take advantage of time now, being that this volatility event here kind of got shut down, right? Or this pump kind of got shut down. So yeah, all that stuff matters, guys. With options, it's very important that we track these things, but it's definitely behind in the game. Compared to the blue chips have already reversed, like fully reversed, and then some of these mid cap stocks also have reversed, right? Nvidia, okay, way ahead of the entire market, reversed already twice, pretty much 2 years ahead here. And then Carvana, on the other hand, about a year ahead. It's currently trading at, and could probably keep going. I mean, like, if from here, like I said, we're tracking this pattern, right? I've been tracking this pattern since February, and it's been playing out so far. The levels are tracking. It just hit liquidity. I mean, so far, a short for Carvana looks good. So I do think this is going to play out. See it coming back down, to the $50 range by October. I posted a projection already on TradingView. And then from here, probably is going to bounce back and end somewhere maybe in the $100 or $90 range by the end of the year. And then you kind of start to see maybe another green candle going into it. But yeah, AMC, GameStop. I will say AMC is way behind compared to GameStop too. If you take a look at the percentage return for both of them, GameStop is way ahead. Let me pull that up. Oh man! All right, those that are coming in, hello, welcome to the channel. Guys, make sure you're hitting that like button and share this with your buddies, and subscribe if you haven't already. We going live every day, where we have been so far. Oh. Here we go. All right, so I'm using this indicator. It won't matter the time I use. The time I use won't change the way the percentages work here, because all we're doing is tracking the return from the start of a date, which I'm going to do 2020. Second. Why is this? Huh. Why is it not working? Oh, there we go. Look at that. From 2020, the beginning of the year in 2020, GameStop is up 2,400%. AMC is down 85%. So that it just kind of puts it in a perspective for you a little bit. They were somewhat close, you can say, when GME was in the 500% range, because it means but yeah, it's kind of crazy to look at something like this. Like AMC is like nowhere close to that. Now, if you change the number to 2021, I still think it's going to be, GME is still going to be the winner here. But yeah, it shouldn't change things too much. Let me see. It's not a date. It's a thing. 4. Here we go. Yeah, see? Negative 48. GME is up 771%. If you go to this year, AMC still not. It still doesn't compare, man. Yeah, look at that. Still up 100% higher than AMC. So yeah, I mean, it just kind of puts the potential here into like perspective a little bit more. There is a lot of potential on AMC when comparing the two. GME just has not been manipulated the same way. I think they've taken advantage of retail a lot more in the AMC community. AMC is the problem with it is the dilution, and then also the whole ape thing kind of gets overthrown a little bit in how they did it, how they managed that. I did not agree with it from the start, right? We do the whole cycle thing here and try and understand these volatility points as they come, but you have other factors that do contribute to the cycle, right? And some of these things impacted the stock in a negative way, and we just didn't see the same thing happening for GME. Like GME actually did something that was decently it was pretty good, doing a split, which is the opposite of a reverse split, and that doesn't affect. In fact, that actually makes it worse for shorts. So it's just kind of like why did they kept things on pretty good. Yeah, so but again, it's just the opportunity factor kind of that comes in. It's like if AMC is down that much and there's so many shorts still piled in, well, what's the upside potential now? Because it has been shorted the same way, and right now they just don't compare. I mean, there's just so much more right now. Anybody who was in on GME in April 2020 is positive, right? But you can't say the same thing for AMC because of the reverse split and because of the ape thing that happened. Right now, anybody who's in is, say somebody came in 2021 early at the bottom here at $10. With that, even if you did do that, I still think somebody would be down probably for, say, what? It's 10 to, this is technically 20 because of the ape thing. This chart's supposed to be adjusted here. It's supposed to say actually 800 and not 300 or error 400. Yeah, it would be pretty low. So that's the ugly thing, guys, about this whole reverse split thing. But hey, we're doing our thing, man. We're still tracking from out, going forward now. I mean, still the stock is trading at 1 point something billion. The shares outstanding right now, we're sitting at 300 million. So it's still a pretty, I mean, it's not, you can't compare it to like a lower float. It's not a low float stock. It's pretty, I would say it's okay balanced in the sense that the volume that comes in would still affect, the way the price is moving. But there are definitely other stocks that have a lower float. It's a little bit easier to maybe pump it from point A to point B. What's the float for GME? Yeah, the GME float is. This is why GME pushes a lot quicker too, and there was I think more halts on GME because the float ratio is completely different. This is almost 11 times smaller. The float is 260 million, and then they have a 1.4 billion dollar market cap. So it's a lot, yeah. And that's part of the reason why, guys, also options are a lot more expensive on GME. You got to look at the float when it comes to that kind of thing. Mac, it did, but it didn't reverse split. GME just did a split. It's the opposite. Okay, so instead of doing a 1 for 10, they did a 4 for 1. So that's why, before GME's price was 500, the peak was 500, but now it's 120. Honestly, if AMC would have done this, I think it would have helped the situation. There's no reason to do a split at the price that it was currently, a reverse split. Most stocks that you see do reverse splits are trading in the penny range. They do like a 1 for 50, or some of them do a 1 for 10 is very common to do, but inside the dollar range, not when you're above it. It's rare for them to do it because we weren't at risk for being delisted. Like we weren't anywhere near it. I think we were trading at what, like $10 or $8 at that point. So it just, or even higher. I don't remember exact because the whole ape thing was going on too. So we did have half of the shares that were trading elsewhere. But yeah, nobody knows why, man. I don't even think he said why he did, or he said why, but it didn't make sense, which is a bit confusing. But again, doesn't really change as much what the future outcome is going to be as far as the cycle goes. There are certain things that will affect the cycle if they happen outside of the algorithm, right? You will see the same thing that happened in July here, but in this case it was a lot worse because it goes up 100%, but then it dumps the next day. Here we did go up. We didn't go up 100%. We went up almost 400, and then we came down, right, about 100%. So it's not the same. It's not the same at all. This is something that was expected, and it's normal. I mean, they pump it early in the week, right? People who have calls and hold the calls are getting screwed, right? Because if they have anything, I know they opened up the $12 contracts and stuff after this happened here, but I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to crush the ones that were the furthest out of the money, which I think might have been the $8 contracts, if I'm not mistaken. So they're just kind of keeping it in a range. And then obviously puts in here don't really benefit either, because as one of the things I tell the Discord is when there is a volatility event like this, puts they're, in my opinion, not a good way to make money, because while the price is going up, volatility is going up for puts as well. and they add money for puts or contracts for puts, those are always going to be high premium. And then when the volatility comes down, it just kind of neutralizes it, itself. So contracts just kind of remain flat. I kind of treat puts the same way, in the sense that a stock has to be trading in a upper range for a while. It doesn't pump and dump, right? That's not a good way to get puts. I think puts is good if, say, you're in a parallel channel and this is had a volatility event and maybe it comes back up or something and it comes up like that, right? Well, then at this point, the puts aren't going to be pumped with the IV right off the bat. There's going to be some time to kind of dry out that volatility. So Cody, you didn't lose the shares. The problem with that was because the split and the conversion happened at the same time, or a day, I think it was like a day apart where it happened. So what happened was you actually had less shares to start with. Reverse split is going to give you more. So that's pretty much what happened here. Is you started off, maybe say you had 100. Well, with the split here, now you have 1,000, and then with that, it's the incentive it gives the shorts to short the stock when it's high. It's like a psychological thing, but I don't think it gets talked about enough in the markets, why reverse splits are there just so. Splits and reverse splits are pretty much there to make the price more attractive, I guess, for retail or anybody that's trying to buy it. For a split, like Chipotle, if a stock is trading in the thousands, or Amazon at the time at 3,000, they do a split, so it maybe a 10 for 1, so that it goes from 3,000 to 300 or less. And then people find it more attractive to buy it. And same thing goes for the other side. Maybe if a stock, but the other side has the delisting factor, which is not a thing for splits. That's why they do it in the penny range. But yeah, that's why, I mean, you got more shares, and then the price, it's not that you were affected by it. It's just that right after the split, everything really started to take a dump, so that, again, the shorts piled in from there. And then they make it seem like, oh, you guys you've seen the $5 range before on AMC. Like, oh, you've seen the $2 range before, but this is not really $2. This is like, technically at 250, it was like 25 cents. And then it goes up to from 25 cents to $1, pretty much. So the high here was almost the lowest point on the AMC chart ever. Like, we go back to 2021, the high point here was the low point for AMC in 2021. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at AMC then in the coming weeks. What I think is going to happen. All right, so I ran the scanner again yesterday to try and find stocks that have done this push already, which are very few. You don't see a 300% push to the upside. The only stocks that I found that had done something like this were Mara, NDM, Nano. I don't know if you guys remember this. This is probably the best one in terms of a time that I found on the scanner. So this one happened in, I think it was like 2016 or something. Or was it? No, it was 2020. Okay, so on the daily, we're back at, I put 250. This thing goes to 400, similar to AMC. Right here, you're not going to see it because it's also taking in, well, let's narrow this down. It's not even the same, actually. What am I doing? Okay, 150 is 1, but it happened in 2 days. So let's do 3. So that, yeah, this thing went up about 343% in about a day, actually. For AMC, the bottom here, because it got dumped back in, it's taking that into account. And the close, maybe I should do high because, oh, why is it not calculating this correctly? This did not go up 100%. There we go. There we go. Okay. So this one went up at almost twice as much. $1 to 6. And the thing I found interesting about this pattern is, well, it's also descending first, and then you have that first big break, volatility event, and then it starts pushing up. Guys, that's pretty much what's happening right now. It's the same time, right? They're pretty much telling me that once that took place, it did dump. It didn't come back to the lows, though, which is the same thing we have for Carvana. Same thing. You pull this back up on Carvana, and it's going to show you the same chart. So on that second push, you can see it doesn't happen for a little while. Probably has to do with the cycle here in time. We're looking at about 120 days. Again, the cycle, right? So 120 days from here to the next cycle would be the next volatility event, would be sometime in September. And then you kind of have, choppiness happening in between. They kind of make it a slow bleed because AMC did dump a little bit harder than, Carvana and an NDM here, which is another stock we're tracking. Then I would say we would probably experience more swings in between, right? So maybe it'll come back up in the short term. And then from here, right, maybe next week or something, then it kind of starts making its way back down, right? And then back up, back down. And eventually it'll reach that range again at 14 from there. So that what I had said on X2 is like this is going to be a series of opportunities. If this is truly the bottom, we don't see the bottom anymore. This is going to be just a series of opportunities, right? We got 12 here, the high, 2 at the low, and I'm projecting that the next low is going to be somewhere around 4. And it could do that in August or something, or it can do that in July, right? point is we're making a massive projector, I think. To think of Elliott Wave too. Elliott Wave is probably one of my favorite indicators to track, or indicator setup to track the impulse wave, which is pretty much you're calling for the projector, right? And then you have your advancing stage, which is the largest. It's the biggest one. Usually, not always the case, but we did say that a lot of the times they are the same size as 1, 2, 2, 3, and then 4 is the final to 5. Now, impulse waves, they're, if you catch them, right, it's just a type of a setup. It doesn't have to turn into that. From here, from 5, it doesn't have to ABC correct, or there could be a small ABC correct and then a continuation to the upside. So I think this is a good way to kind of track the trajectory here in the short term with volatility zones. We got 2, 12, 4 here on this one. Is there a way to label? Oh, look, it tells you the price bars. That's pretty neat. What's this? Oh, cycle. What? Oh, that's pretty neat. Okay. So 2, 12, 4. And then on the next one, on the big one, I would say it would go up 10x. And then, but 10x, so they would be 40. You finally come up to macro liquidity. Forty comes down, and then from here, it goes up another maybe 1x or something to from 25 or 4x, I mean, to 100. This is more realistic, a more realistic approach. And this is the bullish case, man, the bullish case for AMC. So where are the opportunities? The opportunities are in the volatility zone. So at the bottom here, getting closer to the POIs in September, and then later in the year. So probably expecting either another 2 or 1 more in September, and then earlier in the year next year. It's crazy, guys. It really is kind of like 2020 all over again, because you got elections coming up, and then right after that, we have a massive squeeze in the markets, right? Right after the elections. So yeah, GME. I think GME will be a slightly different case. I think kind of with GME, and I do have a cryptocurrency I'm tracking with GME. TRB, guys, is probably the closest cryptocurrency that I have found correlation with GME in the micro charts. Remember when we were tracking ARPA for AMC? ARPA is the closest cryptocurrency that I found, almost was 1-to-1 in the way that it replicated the AMC sequence. I'll show you guys in a second for those that haven't seen it. For TRB, look at this. And I'm going to look at the premium chart too, because for some reason, the premium index, what's this? Shows us some of these things. Wait, what? Here it is. Sometimes there is correlation. Sometimes there is not with the premium chart. This one I don't really see as much, so I'm not going to use it. But here there definitely is, and I used the GME chart with TRB to spot a lot of these POIs. I'll show you guys the one I spotted here for GME in the most recent run up. You can actually use the TRB chart for that. Here's the run up, and this is what I used. Actually, this is probably going to tell us where the next volatility event is going to take place, or where it can. And if it does, kind of show you guys why. But so here is what I found for GME. All right, so you guys see what's happening here. As soon as we get shut down on TRB, this massive squeeze, right? I think it went up like the same way. It goes up to 500 and then it gets shut down. Then we have the sequence repeating itself. Guys, look at this. This is like, for those that don't think the cycle works, this is like classic way to track it. What does it do first? It's the exact same thing. It does a kind of a cup. It fails. It comes down. It makes the same wedge. You got the same volatility events taking place here. But just like the algorithm can speed things up, can slow them down too. And that's how I got. And then when it flips and stuff, that's when that's when it's pretty relevant to track. But for example, this entire section here was sped up. Right, for TRB. You can see it drops right there, follows everything through right here, and then you can see it starts to kind of slow down, right? So up to this point, I believe this is where it flipped, because this is what we had used. Right here, this is where it had flipped, because you can see this section here lines up. I have the pattern here. I don't know why there it is. Here it is. Here's the one that I used, right? So that's where it flips, and then now it's basically saying that GME, I mean, I don't see anything inside the sequence here for TRB if it's ahead, but it's saying that some kind of volatility event would take place early next year for GME, which kind of checks out, guys, because you go back to October, right, 2020, we did see GME go first. GME went first, and it had a series of pumps, and then it goes up like crazy, and then kind of just trails in between the high, like mid-range, right? So this is like the June of AMC, because after this was over, AMC is the one that dumped like crazy and just kind of remained flat until it got to June. Once it got to June, it hit way higher. And I think that's exactly what's happening here again with AMC. So because GME went up higher, it went up 10x pretty much AMC only went up 4x. So from almost $9 to like 80 or something. So yeah, about 10 or 9x. AMC went up like a third of that. So where is that liquidity going to go? It's being stored away and will be released probably later this year. Let's see. Okay, I'm trying to see what is pumping to get more correlation, because right now we have AMC, GME, we have NVAX, and we also have Woof. Like this thing is pumping. It's up 21%, kind of barely, and then the whole crypto space is pumping. Yeah, guys, that correlation is pretty high, man. That section we tracked with the all-in-one indicator yesterday is pretty high, because now we're seeing the crypto space go up like expected. Mara's up. Yeah, I've got 10 indicators loaded in this. TradingView's having a hard time with it. Oh, this is going to be... Look at that. The three, man. The three go up. They went up the same. And look at that. It's kind of weird how liquidity is used here, because the first day, NVAX goes up, right? 200%. The following day, we have GME do it the same way, the same range and everything. So it's almost like that liquidity was used for GME. And then now this dump here, I mean, NVAX is definitely sustaining itself better than AMC and GameStop. But yeah, that liquidity, man, NVAX did it first, and then right after. So all this, it happened in May 2020, the same way. Not the same range, I'm sorry, but the same list of stocks were going up. Here's GME, right? They're spread out a little bit, but they're inside the same range a month. So GME, AMC, here's NVAX. And then we also have Nikola. We have Mara right here, which is going up right now. We also have Riot. VXRT was another one that was pumping. It's going up right now. And Snapchat, which was also pumping a week ago like crazy. So guys, that's the correlation I'm talking about. There's a few other stocks here that are expected to pump with this correlation here that we have tracking. That's one range to track. There's also January, which also has a good correlation as well. We have AMC, GameStop, Mara, and then NVAX is also right here, like right after it. That's 2 for 2. BlackBerry, Sava is the other one that I'm tracking for some upside. This one here has a closer correlation with in the way that they track in time, because right at in this one we had NVAX go up like a day after AMC and GameStop, and then a few days later we had Sava go up, and then prior to that we have OCGN. 30 days before, we had OCGN go up, which I'm pretty sure OCGN was pumping earlier last month. Right here. OCGN, March. Okay, 40 days. OCGN. You guys see what I'm saying? Like, correlation is strong, man. Correlation is strong. Yeah, Plug is one of those stocks. Now, guys, this is not. There's a lot that goes into it. When like I don't just look at the stocks here and automatically put them in the like these have the potential. Sure, they do have the potential, but they're not automatically safe for experiencing volatility, right? There's a lot in there that are just kind of trading slightly higher than the market, and it could be for a different reason. There is a threshold that I kind of track with all that that kind of has to be crossed in order for it to be considered for that. And a lot of this has to do with leaps, guys, and options, and like in the way that they run things in groups, the way the algorithm does it. And then, apart from this, I take a look at everything else as far as technicals, like if it's exiting or entering a phase, distribution or accumulation, right? Or advancing, declining. We need to know where they are at for for this thing to be pretty accurate. Yeah, after an event like this, you do kind of expect the markets to, depending on whether we're in May or we're in January, right? If we're in January, you're going to see a lot more stocks squeeze. This is not going to be the only set if we're in January. But if we're in May, then you can see that's kind of just a hiccup in the cycle. Like it goes up, it gets shut down, and then it trades sideways for a while. So we don't know yet what's going to happen, but I think on the bright side, we have the markets are reaching all-time highs again, which is good. I've already said this. I do expect the markets to trade sideways up here for a while, which is going to give the opportunity for a lot of other stocks to start pumping as well. And then some stocks are going to start entering a macro distribution phase, like NVIDIA or Carvana. Those guys, I think, are going to start coming down, but not these small cap and maybe some mid cap stocks too that are getting ready to kind of break out. Oh, I forgot Save was in the mix too. Spirit Airlines, that's a big one to track in the mix, and that was also in there. Right here, Save. It was about a month later that happened, but it was there in that same range. You don't really see that happening, guys. Like this is 200 stocks here, and the ones that are they're breaking out of that market average that are showing up on here are showing up on the current cycle. So the chances of that, you got 4 or 5 stocks already showing up. That's not chance, right? Like it's got to be correlated some form of way. Okay. Yeah, VXRT right here, 32%. Let's see what else. Workhorse checks out. OCGN. and then now Mara and Riot are kind of making their way back up. With Mara, guys, this is the interesting thing about crypto. Also, you do see a point in the cycle where liquidity is used for the crypto markets. And you're kind of starting to see that right now with GameStop and AMC. It's like that liquidity event that just took place. Where's all that liquidity going? This massive dump in the markets, and now we're starting to see, all of a sudden, AMC and GameStop start dumping, and then we have Ethereum up 4%. We have Bitcoin going up as well. It's likely that at these levels, the crypto markets are getting ready to curl up again. There's two things I'm tracking for crypto. If this does break the 3-5 range in the short term, I think we're going to see new highs on Ethereum, and I think Mara is also going to start making its way back up to its all-time highs, right? But otherwise, another distribution event here for Ethereum would mean that the price would, probably fall and then trade sideways into July. It can go two ways. Really, that's the way I'm tracking it right now. I would love for the crypto markets to start pumping again, man. I think it's going to be fun this year for crypto. Here's some of the patterns we've been tracking for Ethereum. One of the ones that I pulled up on the scanner was BAT. This is the one that's calling for distribution. Okay, but there's a possibility that this one flipped already. And if it flips right here again, we would see it, advance and break out. Here it is. This is where I think it flipped. Reddit is kind of making its way back up as well. NVAX, BNGO. Sava is down a little bit. And Sava is barely down, though. Sava, I am expecting to climb and break up. It's one of the more bullish stocks. With Sava, the thing right now is I'm tracking a volatility event. Even though I'm bullish on Sava, with the thing about volatility events, guys, and this goes back to the whole AMC thing. When we had the volatility event that happened when we had the split and stuff, it fell like crazy, right? That's the only thing about POIs is that you can do your analysis and stuff and narrow it down to that 13-day window, but whether it goes up or down is really all chance from there, because it could be anything that just causes the stock to go down. That's why I try and check off as much as I can before making that before picking a direction. Okay, SPY. What's this? Workhorse. All right. Throw in some stocks you guys want me to scan real quick. I can pull them up. I'll show you guys I'm gonna run one. See if my believe it or not, the code for this is pretty intense. I'm running right now 3 screens. I'm streaming. I'm running TradingView. I'm running so much, so I hope my computer can handle all this because I don't have it yet on a server on a third-party cloud system. That's the thing that I need to do so I can deploy this. But I'm gonna run or try to run AMC right now and show you guys kind of how this works. Let's do GME, and then I'll run AMC. Do 250. Now, when you're scanning stocks that have extreme volatility, they're not going to be as the matches are not going to be as accurate as some of the ones that don't experience that. Just because there's not a lot of stocks in the market that experience volatility in the first place. It's when squeezes happen, right, and stocks rally, it's kind of considered a rare thing in the market. So see what this spits out. I'll try and run some of these. I'm gonna have I've been working on a kind of like a beta version of this. We had one on the Discord a little bit ago, a beta version of this, but it's not something that I can just deploy and have out anywhere. So I'm trying to get it on Discord to where you can kind of type commands and then it'll just spit out some of the patterns. So that is in the works and will be available on the Discord. It's in the works, but for now. Oh yeah, this thing is gonna be slow. Oh yeah, no, this is gonna be slow. I probably won't be able to do it. Yeah, no, I'll have to. If anything, I'll post something on Twitter or on the Discord. But yeah, if you guys send them to me, I can run some scans and then kind of have those. Yeah, no, you guys should see how it was like listing each. Usually it takes about a minute to scan the whole thing, but the way at this speed, it's gonna take forever. Okay. All right, intraday AMC. Let's take a look at what is happening. All right, I need to clear some of these things. Making TradingView slow here. Let's see what you guys ever used the Ghost Feed. Ghost Feed is pretty cool because it just kind of gives you good perspective. I do think that we're gonna see 14 again. I won't say much about like maybe like a timeline. I think we would see it before the next point of interest. But I do see us hitting that range again. I don't think it'll happen in 2 days, but maybe a month's time or something like that. I think that's doable. I think right now what AMC is trying to do is go down to the at least the $4 range. I don't know if it's going to do it this week or next week. Maybe they're done for the week, trying to kind of work Max Payne into the market makers, right? Moving the price and shit. But I think they're trying to at least leave it somewhere in the $5 range, if anything. I mean, it is Wednesday. Anything can happen, but yeah, I think they're trying to grab liquidity one more time here. I mean, we can already kind of see kind of like an inverse arc developing. Usually that looks something like this. It's one quick wick, grab liquidity, and then you start making your way back up like that. From here, because the dump was so hectic and so quick, I'm thinking we can see probably 10 or 11, maybe if not this week, early next week, and then from there, experiencing another a short-term accumulation, which is just bouncing off of walls, guys. Here's my accumulation box. I'm going to say the low would be probably, I'm going to say somewhere around 375 if they get like a quick wick or something down there. I don't think we're going to go lower than that. Yeah, I think this is... Because remember, the other charts we were looking at, they have a slow bleed. And that's the thing about accumulation, guys, is like you inside the accumulation like phase, you have a few like small volatility events. So if the price did come down to 4 and then it comes all the way back up to 8, I mean, think about that. That is 100% push right there, just right off the bat. That's huge. Then it comes down, trade sideways, they bleed it again. Every time you're making a smaller rally, right, get shut down the same way until they have dried the volatility off enough to then run it again, because they need to, and for the purpose of contracts, it's all contracts right here. So it comes down, makes its way, makes a stop, and then from here, maybe my timeline here is short, but I think that, let me take a look at some of these other patterns. This is the Carvana sequence sped up. You can see that as soon as it hit, which is kind of what it's doing now, and it's kind of funny that you do have that first loop. If this sequence was sped up and it started to pump like crazy, well, you would see something like this. But the problem with this, guys, is that there hasn't been a stock that goes from $2.50 with an option chain all the way up to 40 in this short period. This is a week. Not even in Not even in January did we see this on AMC. So this would be the first time. If AMC did this, this would be the first time in how quickly it would get up there. For Carvana, this took like half a year. So this right here, it sped up, right? It sped up, but that means that a section inside can be slowed down. So I'm thinking that either this accumulation period here for Carvana, this will likely be the part that kind of sucks, because if they keep it in that range between 8 and 4, this could right after just trade like that and be sideways and have maybe other periods where it starts to climb. Now you're meeting this this next phase here, which is a reaccumulation. It's a projector right before you go up. And that could also be bigger, and then you break it, right? You break 14, you're in June, you're in July or whatever, and then again that section there takes longer as well. The good thing about this, though, is once this period is kind of over, if it plays out this way and it's over, on the way up, we should not see like these crazy lows again. So like say it crosses 14 again. If it crosses 14, I don't think we're going to see 14 again for a while. I think it would trade, within that range, but I don't think we would see it for a while. Here, it's what happened. Literally, what happened to Pepe, the meme cryptocurrency, one of the crazy memes, right? And this one played out exactly as we intended it to, guys. If you saw the Pepe video I posted, this one is a really good example of how the algorithm slows things down, and that's one of the things I learned kind of late in the game with this whole cycle theory. But we had the volatility event take place in October, right? We said it's going to come down. Say it comes down to that $500 million market cap. If it goes from here and higher, it would be like a 40-something X. I posted that video, and this thing went up higher. It's actually currently going up higher than that, but also showing you that phase got slowed down half a year. It's a half a year of bleed. So with AMC, it's the same thing. You can track these patterns. We tracked Shiba for this one, and it hit the levels for Shiba. Like you could overlay it, hit the levels. But that initial pump right here for AMC, if it was in this section, it got kind of shut down, and now we're experiencing what could be a longer accumulation period, right? So yeah, AMC could be right here, right? It could be right here, and now it's going to take this entire time to just kind of trade below that range back and forth, collecting calls, collecting puts. But now, once it's ready to break, it breaks resistance, and it doesn't come back. It just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. So that's what I'm thinking for this. Here's the Carvana pattern. All this volume has happened pretty much, right? All this here, it's like no volume at all, and then boom, it breaks. And then now, yeah, if volume starts to die out a little bit, that'll be why. That'll be why. Projector, yeah, this is gonna be if this is accumulation, this is gonna be a projector. It's gonna be, we're entering a re-accumulation phase pretty much, because this over here is looks like distribution, but it hitting these kind of ranges and stuff. It's more of a spring if you look at the, because it went from 11 to 2, so it is distribution, but it looks more like a spring with accumulating along the way. So it's a form of accumulation that looks like distribution, and then this would be reaccumulation. You kind of do the same thing you did here, faster on the way up. And then by the next POI in September, which actually that's exactly what this pattern is calling for. September would be the break. Or two ways it can happen, right? You do a shorter version of it. It goes back up to 14, or 15, 16, whatever. You maybe slightly come back down, and then by September you start climbing back up. There's multiple ways it can kind of play out. All right. That's the daily update here on AMC, guys. I'll be going back in live tomorrow as well, so stay updated for that. Subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Yeah, if you guys have any questions or patterns you want me to scan, throw them on the Discord. I'll post some of those there. I'll try and have that plug one ready, man. I know you wanted me to scan plug. I'll scan it, come back on the live tomorrow. I'll show you guys a little bit of how that works. All right, guys. Till next time.